Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of United Talks podcast. And today, we're definitely going to be doing the match preview. I know you guys want us to do the press, the transfer news, and all of that. There's a whole lot going on in the transfer market. We're going to have time to talk about that, but let's just do this preview and then get it over, get it out the way, and then move on to other things. But yeah, this is a match day preview for the penultimate game of the season and the last game at Old Trafford and Casemiro's farewell match between, for Man United, for an Old Trafford match, basically. So it's his last game at Old Trafford, and he's been interviewing and talking to Rio Ferdinand. We're going to talk about that maybe in another video, but this one is basically Man United versus Nottingham Forest, as you've already seen on this side of the screen. So, Man United versus Nottingham Forest. And yeah, promises to be an interesting game. Nottingham Forest have crashed out of Europe and they're just probably fighting to stay in the league. They're 16th in the table. They're trying to stay as far from Tottenham Hotspur as possible. Nottingham Hotspur and West Ham, they don't want to be dragged into that relegation fight and all of that. But it's Old Trafford on Sunday, under, basically just an evening game. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought a little bit. An evening game for Man United, and we're about to witness a fascinating tactical duel of probably two managers who, by the time we'll be playing that game, I think we'll probably have confirmed Michael Carrick, because obviously, like I said, I'm going to bring a transfer video separately, but obviously Fabrizio Romano has kind of said basically that the board are going to go ahead with Carrick, and it brings me to Indicala. Indicala has actually already said it yesterday, then Fabrizio Romano just confirmed it about 10 hours ago. We're going to analyze that as well on what to expect from Michael Carrick. Probably going to do this thing that I've seen in some channels, 5 things to expect from Michael Carrick. I'm going to make a note of that. 5 things to expect from Michael Carrick. But yeah, now, Michael Carrick, basically the man who has basically steadied the sheep at Man United. And basically on the other side, you have the... losing my train of thought again. So Michael Carrick is on one side. He has kind of restored the ship, like steadied the ship at Man United with his results-first pragmatism and lethal transition game. While you have a Vítor Pereira, the architect who has completely rebuilt this Forest into a proactive, narrow, and adaptive machine. You know, Forest aren't just coming into this game just to pack the bus. They are coming into this game to jump, press, and dominate the half spaces. And the question will now be that can Michael Carrick kind of find a way through this Pereira's block, or will United fall into the trap of a sterile possession, into a trap of sterile possession? So we're going to dive into this. We're going to talk about the head-to-head. We're going to talk about the historical head-to-head and historical context. We're going to talk about the basically the form guide. We're also going to talk about how both teams play. We're also going to talk about, you know, how Man United can beat Forest. We're going to talk about key players for both teams. We're also going to talk about, you know, predicted lineup. So stay with us, and I'm not going to lose my train of thought again. Yeah, so we're going to start with head-to-head and historical context. Historically, United have basically dominated this fixture, but the Pereira era at Forest has actually made them to push tougher, to become much of a tougher nut to crack. In our last meeting, it was a 2-2 thriller, basically. And it left United fans frustrated by Forest's ability to stay organized and strike on the counter, especially with Morgan Gibbs-White scoring a lot against Man United. And I remember that situation where I was saying Ahmad shouldn't have let him come right in front of him, and Ahmad had to try to push him. And in the process of pushing him, Ahmad kind of guided his header. Morgan Gibbs-White's header. Forest have evolved significantly as well since their return to the top flight. They are no longer the team that relies on heavy metal chaos. They are just a side that prizes structural discipline and tactical repetitions. Now, when we look at our dashboard, you can tell that obviously from the last 5 games for both teams, Forest haven't lost. they basically haven't lost, especially in Premier League. They haven't lost in 5. They are unbeaten in 5 in the last 5. 3 games, 3 wins and 2 draws. For United, we've lost 1 in 5 with 3 wins and 1 draw. So 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss for United. For Forest, 3 wins, 2 draws. So it's going to be really tough for us, basically looking at it. And as I'm rubbing my hands together, it's pretty much like, yeah, what next? Where do we go from here? You look at like featured players with regards to like performances and stuff. You see that Luke Shaw has the most minutes, 36 games, most matches, 36 games. Milankovic has the most minutes with 3,100 minutes to Luke Shaw, 3,061. That will probably be more than the fact that, or more of the fact that Luke Shaw has been subbed off a couple times. Casemiro and Elliot Anderson are being compared when it comes to yellow cards. Casemiro has 9, Elliot Anderson has 7, and then you have, you know, younger players in Mantato versus, you know, St. Clair, and obviously Tom Hitton and Willy Boley as old players, Hitton being the older of the players. When you look at like offensive contributions, you have Bruno Fernandes who's leading the pack with 19 goals and 9 assists, 19 assists and 9 goals. And you have Morgan Gibbs-White as well for them, 13 goals and 4 assists. And then you also have Benjamin Šeško in the striker department. And he's most likely injured for this one. He's most likely not going to make it. And we will see from the press conference. I have not watched the press conference, so I can't really tell you specifically what has been said. But we know what's up. Then you also have Šeško. Like I said, Šeško has 11 goals and 3 assists. And then you also have Igor Jesus for them, who has 6 goals and 4 assists. Brian Bumo still on 9 goals, 3 assists. And did I say Šeško was on 3 assists? I think Šeško was on 1 assist. Anyway, whatever case. Then you have Hudson-Odoi, who's injured for them as well, with 3 goals and 4 assists. And then Casemiro with 7 assists and 9 goals. And Elliot Anderson with 4 assists and 4 goals and 7 assists. So with the goal progression, Man United seem to be progressive when it comes to goal scoring from the middle of the game, from like 31 minutes to 45 minutes, and beginning of second half, 46 minutes to 61 minutes. And then we've scored most of our goals towards the end of games from like 61 minutes upward. So you might as well call us second half FC. And then you have Forest, who have scored beginning of games, so early on, middle of games from 31 minutes, and towards the end of games from 75 minutes. And on the table, they are ranked basically 16th, practically and mathematically safe because they've got 43 points. So you can't see the points all there, but I'm just going to try and see if I can move things around for you to see the points. And Man United are, you know, 3rd, and Forest are basically 16th with 43 points and practically and mathematically safe, right? For United, we're basically just on 65 points, and we're going to just play this game to secure 3rd spot. Now, onto other things. With Form Guide, Man United are in the hunt for that top 3. Since that 3-2 win over Liverpool on May 3rd, United have been playing with confidence, but obviously we're not going to forget the horrendous game against Sunderland. But with 64 points, or 65 points, as the case may be, Man United are the form team of 2026. We're not going to lie about that. Although they will still show occasional vulnerabilities, especially against sides that sit deep and defense, like low block teams and bottom half teams. We've shown vulnerabilities. I mean, for us to be getting 1 shot on target in the entire game against Sunderland, that says a lot. Then you have a Nottingham Forest side who are the ultimate mid-table disruptors. They are sitting in 16th, away from relegation scrap, largely thanks to the defense that they have, that have been overhauled by Pereira. Like their ability to win the ball high up the pitch makes them a nightmare for teams, but they are insecure in their build-up. Right now, we're going to look at how both teams play, starting from Nottingham Forest and how Vítor Pereira plays. Vítor Pereira has basically implemented his highly adaptive 4-1-4-1 mid-block. He used to play a 3 at the back for Wolves, but now he's come back to Forest and he's played the 4-1-4-1. They allow you to have the ball, and they also have been incredibly proactive. The moment a deep midfielder receives the ball, their central unit jumps to force the play backward. In possession, they move into a 3-2 shape on the halfway line, having completely ditched the long cross meta of vertical through balls and central combinations of the Shondaich era. They are narrow, intense, and physically imposing. So it'd be nice for us to actually see in the game how they play against us. And we're going to go to the tactical. We're going to go to their predicted lineup. So we'll go to Forest's predicted lineup, and we expect them to line up with Marcels in goal, with a 3 at the back, 3-4-2-1. Compared, as in using the last game as an example, we'll have Morato in left side of centre back, and we have Milinkovic in the middle, and then Cunha on the right. And then you also have Anderson and Dominguez in the middle. Anderson being the central midfielder and Dominguez being the defensive midfielder. The guy likes to commit a lot of fouls. Last time I watched him. Then Nico Williams on the right, Nets on the left as wing backs, and then you have Igor Jesus, who is basically going to be one of the 210s, and Bakwa on the right as one of the 210s, and then you have Taiwo Awoniyi. Sometimes he starts with Taiwo Awoniyi, sometimes he starts with the other striker, the other statesman on their team who has been able to score a lot of goals. So most likely we are going to see that from Nottingham Forest. And yeah, it promises to be an interesting game. We're also going to look at their predicted, their key player, right? Key player for Nottingham Forest. But looking at their team, like I said, they have that. They also have Omari Hutchinson, who can come in as a winger if they want to change to a 4-1-4-1. They also have Ryan Yates, who I don't like a lot at all, because that one always likes to foul. That one can come into the mid. They also have Chris Wood, who is the elder statesman I talked about. He's the one that kind of like can come and disrupt us. He's the penalty specialist and all of that. So he's there. Just to give you some insights before we go on to their key player, Bruno Fernandes needs one more assist to equal the all-time Premier League single season record of 20. Then you also have him. He has created 124 chances this season, nearly double the next best player in the league. And goalkeeper Son Lomans ranks second in the Premier League for goals prevented this season, which is no mean feat. Manchester United also won 3 of the 4 head-to-head at Old Trafford, but lost the most recent in December 2024. Forest also, from the Forest side, have won their last 3 Premier League away games by a combined 11 goals to 1. Morgan Gibbs-White has 13 Premier League goals this season, despite Forest cycling through 4 managers. And then you also have Morgan Gibbs-White has 13 league goals and could miss the rest of the season through injury, I think with the head injury. Then Forest have cycled through 4 permanent managers this season, yet still secured safe survival. So that is no mean feat as well for Nottingham Forest. Now, we move to the key player for Nottingham Forest. Key player for Nottingham Forest from this end, basically, is Elliot Anderson. Is going to basically be auditioning for playing for Man United, basically. And in truth, considering their last game where they played 1-1 against Newcastle, in truth, it is expected that he will be very expensive, and he's of interest to Man City as well. The 23-year-old, and he is in the peak of his powers, basically the player that everybody wants, a Newcastle reject, right? Or will I say Newcastle sold them, and he scored against them in the last game, right? Basically, he has played 48 matches this season. That's a lot of games, man. 48 matches with 4,083 minutes, 4 goals and 3 assists. And basically played the last game against Newcastle, as I said, and scored against them. They lost to Villa 4-0 in the Europa League semi-final, and they beat Chelsea 3-1, as well as beat Aston Villa 1-0 in the Europa League semi-final first leg. So it's an Old Trafford thing for them, right? Now, Morgan Gibbs-White is another key player, but most likely not going to miss the game. But if he is available to play, we're looking at the heartbeat of this Forest evolution. He's given the total structural freedom to float between the lines, and he's the centerpiece of their transition game, thriving on the surge of goal contributions under Pereira's narrow midfield system. And if he finds space to turn, he will punish you, especially considering that he scores against us, whether he's playing for Wolves or playing for Forest. So it is what it is. Now, we go to how Michael Carrick plays, and this one now, it's become an issue of a debate for most Man United fans. Under Michael Carrick, United are the kings of the big game blueprint. Is this Forest game the big game? No, this is a bottom half team. Now, they shift between the compact 4-4-2 low block without the ball to a 3-2-5 hybrid in possession, which we have not seen the last couple of games. Against elite teams, they are devastating, but against lower table teams or lower table sides, they sometimes struggle with U-shaped possession, and that is what we have come to notice. The key is the double pivot of Casemiro and Mainoo, who act as a shield and the launch pad for Bruno Fernandes. But if I talk, and people would think that maybe I have a specific kind of hate for Kobbie Mainoo or something, but we have to look at it from the perspective of the fact that Mason Mount played with Kobbie Mainoo in midfield. Mason Mount had more defensive contributions, had more passes in the final third, had more tackles than Kobbie Mainoo. Is Mason Mount a defensive midfielder? No, but he had that. Coach Casemiro as well has played with Kobbie Mainoo multiple times and has shown to have had multiple defensive contributions more than Kobbie Mainoo. Casemiro is the defensive midfielder. He has 25 defensive contributions against Brentford and didn't even move with his defensive contributions to 18 against Liverpool. So it's like, what is actually the role of Kobbie Mainoo? Because I don't think that Michael Carrick told Mason Mount to defend. But that is by the way. Like I said, Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo are the two players that would kind of be that defensive shield to allow for Bruno to express himself. Then we go on to the key player for Pereira's starting lineup for Man United. Pereira's starting lineup for Man United against Forest. I think with the injury to Šeško, we're going to go with Son Laments. Licha Martinez is back to the lineup, so Licha Martinez and Harry Maguire in defense, unfortunately for Euro and Heaven. And then we have Luke Shaw and Dalot back into the starting lineup, especially for Dalot because Nuzai Majari played the last one. And then Casemiro and Mainoo in the midfield. And then Bruno Fernandes in the 10. And then Ahmad back into the starting lineup again on the right. Cunha on the left with their speed and tenacity. And then Brian Bumo in the attack with Šeško on the bench. Most likely he's going to start with Joshua Zirkzee, but we'll see that as we go. Then, for key player for Man United, the key player for this one is Casemiro. One of the key players anyway. Casemiro scored, he has scored 2 goals in the last 4 games that he has played. He has done really well when it comes to goal contributions. He has a combined 11 goal contributions with 9 goals and 2 assists. I think the most he scored this season for the 34-year-old. He's played 2,524 minutes, and he has played 34 games this season. This will be his 35th and penultimate game before his contract ends at United. On the other hand, basically, he's done really well. And he's going to be missed because we saw that evidence against Sunderland in the away game. Now, the next key player we're going to focus on is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, 35 games played, 3,023 minutes, 8 goals, 20 assists, all competitions, 19 in the Premier League. Most likely going to get the 20th one in this game against Forest. But considering the performance of the last game, it's going to be really hard to say that. And then, obviously, he's been doing really, really well, creating assists, creating chances. The pressure is on him now for this next 2 games to at least create 2 assists that will keep us, or that will move us, or move him closer to the record. So we'll all be here to observe and all of that. Now, With Bruno Fernandes specifically, yeah, his role is just basically to create. He's a creative outlet for this team. In a system that can sometimes stall against deep blocks, Bruno is tasked with the moment of magic, whether it's the diagonal switch to stretch the pitch or the incisive through ball to maybe Šeško on Bumo or Ahmad or Cunha. Everything kind of flows through Bruno, and like in as much as we want to talk about the fact that it is very difficult for it not to flow through him, everything flows through Bruno. So we will be on the lookout for if he is able to break that assist record. Now to the third segment of this, or the second to the penultimate segment of this preview. We're going to look at 4 key strategies for Man United to defeat Forest. And we're going to start with number 1, which is, to avoid another frustrating draw, United needs or must execute these 4 tactical plans. And I always give these plans, and it's so funny. But if we, as fans, can analyze stuff and talk about stuff like this, I don't know what assignments these managers do, but we will just suggest if they get to see it, that's fine. If they don't, it is what it is. And that's why we do this stuff. As at the time of recording, it's Wednesday night. You guys might see it on Thursday. And then Thursday, there's a press conference which we'll analyze. So, yeah. Now, first and foremost, we have to trigger and exploit the midfield jump. That's number 1. Casemiro and Mainoo should use baiting one-touch passes to draw the central press out of position. As their midfield step up to jump, Bruno must instantly exploit the vacated half space before their zonal defense is reset. We need to find a way to exploit if there isn't a 3 at the back system or a 4 at the back system. I've seen Vítor Pereira change a lot in the games I've watched, so let's see how that pans out. The second one is to isolate the lone pivot. Forest's extreme narrowness leaves their single defensive midfielder isolated. So by isolating Dominguez and positioning 2 creative playmakers like Bruno Fernandes and Cunha closer, Ahmad closer, right on the shoulders of this Dominguez guy, United can create a 2-on-1 overload and severe and basically create 2-on-1 overloads and sever the communication that Forest has between the lines. So it'll be very key for us to do that. Bruno and Cunha will be playing 2 roles in this aspect, even for Ahmad as well, right? And then if Bumo is dropping deep, he will also play a role in this one. Then the third one is the aggressive rest defense. Maguire and Licha Martinez must be very proactive. They need to tightly mark Chris Wood or Igor Jesus or even Taiwo Awoniyi, right? Early on to deny that hold-up play, because Taiwo is so good at hold-up. Igor Jesus is so good at this pace and hold-up. You also have Chris Wood, who is so good at hold-up play as well. Dalot and Shaw must also track back early to double-team Elliot Anderson if he comes to the flanks. It's very key for that to happen. So that's number 3. Aggressively be aggressive on the rest defense. Then number 4, the fourth and final strategy is to bypass the central press that Forest will always leave. Don't play into that diamond. Instead of the risky short passes through the middle, Lomans should actually target Dalot and Shaw, or Dalot or Shaw on the touchline if we're going out wide to stretch the field to bypass the central press and shift the ball wide immediately, which will eliminate Forest's central trap and let our forwards run at the back line. Ahmad can do that. Cunha can do that. We can press on them and take advantage of the opportunity right in front of us. Now, for the next minute, we're going to talk about, just to conclude everything. This is a game about patience and precision. Forest are a much improved tactically rigid side under Vítor Pereira, but United have the blueprint to dismantle them if we stay disciplined. Now, if Carrick can beat this Forest press and use Bruno to find the gaps, then the 3 points should actually stay at Old Trafford. Now, I'm predicting a 2-0 win. I could say 2-1, but I'm predicting a 2-0 win. United find it difficult to score. Maybe it will come from set pieces because we scored against them in set pieces, but it's a different team with a different manager. Now I'm predicting a 2-0 United win because it's home, a professional performance where the Carrick ball and the pragmatism wins eventually. Now, my final take. What do you guys think? Can Man United handle this Forest press or Forest high press? Or Are we in for that long night of U-shaped possession, side-to-side passing and all of that? Let us know in the comment section. Let's continue this run. Let's see how we can actually grind out another win and finish the season strong. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Put in your score predictions as well. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. What do you think? How do you think Mainoo is going to approach the game? Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as relates to all things Manchester United. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.